passed out. I'm Josh.
It's Arash over here. How you guys doing? Oh man, there's so much AI to talk about. There's so much going on this week. It was a crazy week. Well, let's start. I mean, I guess the first thing would be, the whole Israeli-Iran thing going on. That's getting a little sketch. Cool military parade that went on yesterday that seriously looked like a third world country running it.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yes.
That was
Dude, the pictures over Tel Aviv of like the missiles destroying each other in the sky at night is crazy.
yeah, I didn't expect Iran to retaliate like that.
Dude,
The first,
it came so quick and like dude, like so what was it? Thursday night they were like threatening, like Israel's like that, we're going to do it. I thought that we had diffused it because like America's supposed to be, we were supposed to be having nuclear talks with Iran today.
yep,
And then
that's exactly why they did it. It is because to disrupt that, they don't want Iran to have negotiations. They want complete. It seems like they want complete regime change.
no, I agree, dude, and like I just I don't I think Netanyahu just started a war that we're going to get dragged into very easily. Like, and Trump comes out in support of it and says, "We knew about it the whole time," and like it just yeah.
Part of me thinks he just is saying that to save face. I don't know how much they knew about it. What I'm expecting a false flag to happen at one of the U.S. bases in the Middle East or like an embassy, and then that gets us dragged into the war. It's going to be Gulf of Tonkin again. I'm
Yeah.
really afraid about that.
You don't think the fact that we just have a huge presence in Israel right now and like our military's been doing a lot of like helping them, shoot down all of the incoming barrages. So,
Yeah, it's crazy that
and
things have even gotten through with like the Iron Dome supposed to be. I know it's not. It only covers, if I'm not mistaken, ballistic missiles, not like hypersonic missiles.
yeah.
But it's still, I don't think a lot of people expected Tel Aviv, and I think Haifa was another city that was got hit pretty bad.
Yeah.
But it's also tough to see what's happened in Iran because the government has has a stranglehold on a lot of the media, or pretty much all of the media there.
Yeah,
And
dude. There's like you're seeing all these pictures of like the destruction of Tel Aviv and stuff, and then on the other side, they're just showing maps. They're just pictures of Iran and like with, blocks of where we hit, nuclear facilities there.
right, and we'll see how far that takes him back from being able to do anything nuclear. Now, if they if Israel claims to have taken out their nuclear capability, then war should be over, right? If that's what they were really scared about, then mission accomplished.
Yeah, and Iran's eventually going to run out of missiles, right? Like they've just been it seems like they fire hundreds of missiles. Some of them get through, some of them get shot down, and then it goes quiet for a few hours, and then another fucking round, dude. And this was going on till I haven't checked since like late last night, but like at 11 p.m., I saw that they were prepping for another impact, and they had seen that another 100 missiles had been shot at them. So I'm like, eventually Iran's gonna run out of missiles, right?
You would think, but they have a lot, and ironically, one of the kamikaze drones is named after me, Arash. It's like literally called the Arash missile, and those are like, I hate to say it, cheap to make, but what they do is they test the air defense. So like they'll send out a bunch of those before they send out like a bigger missile, like a ballistic or a hypersonic, and they'll see like how long it takes for them to get shot down. They assess the radar situation, and then so that'll be like the first wave, and then the second wave they adjust accordingly. So they'll send out their more expensive shit, and that's I think it seems like that might be a reason why it's been going through. They're kind of used as um like pawns in a chess game. They're just, if they get shot down, they're cheap to make,
Yeah.
super cheap to make, and then they
Yeah.
could send out bigger shit. But they have apparently over 3,000 long range missiles, um, and then a whole bunch of different classes of missiles too. Like they have different phases of when to use each one. Like they call it escalatory stages, and we'll see, because a lot of their air defense was taken out, but I don't think they were really concerned about air defense. Anyways, it's more of an offensive strategy on their end.
Even if they didn't take out all their nukes, it sounds like they took out a lot of their it sounds like they took out a lot of the scientists and structure and like administrative structure around the program.
Yeah, definitely. Um, um, you would think that like a coup would be possible if they keep targeting generals and people in the IRGC. Shit, if they manage to kill the Ayatollah, then that's a huge game changer right there, because there's going to be a power struggle for sure. Like, is it going to be his son? Is it going to be one of the top guys in the IRGC who's left? I'm sure there's people in the military that want to do a takeover before like one of the mullahs does. So
Yeah.
if Khamenei dies, it's going to be a huge shift in things. And they're pretty good about killing leaders. They killed Hezbollah's leader, the Hamas leader. Might just be a matter of time. It's going to be super interesting. By the time this comes out, it might happen.
Yeah. What is the you might have more insight into this than I ever will, but what the news just doesn't really show a whole lot of the perspective of like Iranian common folk. Like what's like the general population they're feeling.
It's a lot like the US, I would say. You have the conservatives, the religious people who are all about um, the government, the Islamic Republic, but you have a big, I wouldn't even say minority. I would say it's like a 45-55, to where it's like, fuck this government, but we'll save face by not really saying anything. But there's been protests for the last 16 years, here. I would say every like couple of years you see mass protests. There were protests right before this happened by the truckers. Um, Bakers, I guess, had a big strike over there because like there were a lot of power issues there, like electricity, and just because of sanctions hitting hard.
Yeah.
And there's always been unrest there, and I think Israel is kind of seeing that as an opportunity to spearhead some change. I would really compare the people who were like pro America, pro Western, to be like the Democrats over there.
Yeah.
It's almost a 50-50 split.
Mhm. Okay, that's kind of what I thought. You know, it's you'd assume that like yeah, there's people kind of like regular people everywhere that are just like fuck, I wish they would stop fighting. I wish that we would stop getting killed in these, things that could
A lot.
probably be avoided. I just uh do you think that do you think that what Israel is saying, like do you think that there was actually enough nuclear presence there to justify what Netanyahu's saying, or do you think that it's just this is just the story they're telling to justify their version of the truth?
I might be in the minority here. I think there is some truth in what Netanyahu's saying. I think there definitely, yeah, obviously there was uranium enrichment going on. Whether it was to escalate their status in the world to be one of the nuclear countries,
Yeah.
or if they were planning to use it on a place like Israel, who knows really? But I could see Netanyahu's stance of like, I don't want to find out, so let's not even let. I could definitely see the reasoning behind that, but he hasn't done himself any favors with how he's handled Gaza. He's losing the PR war. He's like Blake Lively right now. And yeah, Blake Lively.
A lot, like, I know that a lot of what I'm seeing is just my algorithm leans a little more towards the American liberal media. So I know that, like, that's the story that I'm being fed is that version of it. And that's kind of why I wanted to get like uh a better take from somebody who's a lot more knowledgeable of that part of the world.
Both sides are. It seems like they're both using. It's even more so than the Russia-Ukraine thing going on, or that's been going on.
Yeah.
It seems like it's been a complete PR war on social media between both sides. Like, have you seen the tweets between like the IDF and the IRGC where it's like the IDF put like eliminated and has like the 8 generals and shit on there, and then the IRGC the next day is like, "Are you ready?" It's like hyping the attack that's about to happen.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I saw the
completely
"Are you ready?" I was like, this is crazy.
it's like WWE. And then you hear
Yeah.
the fucking Stone Cold glass break, and like fucking USA comes out, and then you smell what Russia's cooking, and then fucking Russia comes out. It's gonna be a
Oh,
shit show.
Stone Cold would represent the American version of WWE, just breaks into the rest of the world with like a can of beer in his hand.
Who would Iran be in this? I mean, I know the Iron Sheik is, but let's talk Attitude Era.
Yeah. Dude, the Iron
Uh,
Sheik is like the funniest person on Twitter.
the rest in peace. Oh man, I would
Rest
love to
in
hear
peace,
what he
dude.
would
His
have to say.
Twitter was gold back in the day.
Fucking Iron Sheik, dude. Some of his old like, you remember Mean Gene, the guy
No.
with the mustache that would like talk to wrestlers to do promos.
Yes. Okay. That I didn't know his name.
Fucking Iron Sheik would call him Gene Mean. Fun fact: Mean Gene was actually Iron Sheik's best man at his wedding. But he,
Interesting.
yeah, it's fucking crazy. And there's some bloopers online that are so funny. Where like he'll make Mean Gene laugh by. There's one with like a chicken or a turkey in a cage, and like Iron Sheik opens the cage, and it's fucking nuts. But yeah, I don't think there could be anyone other than the Iron Sheik that would be Iran,
I don't either.
even
I
though
can't.
he's on Attitude Era. But yeah, the social media part is nuts. Like especially with the AI, and I know you wanted to get into AI today, but there's so many conflicting reports. There's so many people on X just like, Grok, is this true? Grok, is that true? It's pretty fucking annoying.
Do you think that people are relying too heavily on Grok and Chat GPT for their information nowadays?
100%. 100%. Like if they verify who's behind like the structure of that AI, you know?
Yeah, well, I want to
And
know what the yeah, like have they released the architecture of like what these things are running off of? Because they could
Um,
essentially feed it whatever they wanted to. Like, if they really just wanted to feed it only, like right wing propaganda to just spit back out at people that they want it to believe, they could. Like, that could be the only data set that they put in there if they wanted to. I know that's
yeah,
not the case, but like, they could be, you know, messing with it. Like, there's definitely, like, isn't there a whole lot of shit around how. Isn't Facebook and Meta under fucking under a lot of critique on like how they did some of this shit with the presidential election.
oh yeah, yeah. Facebook, even Google. There's I forgot his name, but he did such a great job explaining it. Um, he had this program that would run all sorts of data, and you'd have all these Google accounts searching, and like on the day of I believe the 2020 election, um, there were people who leaned like towards the liberal side. They got vote reminders on like the Google icon. You know how Google changes its logo and shit when you go on the main page,
Yeah.
and it was skewed to like 70-30. And then they got called out on it. Next day it was like 51-49. It was like
Whoa.
as within a standard deviation, which is what you want. But it was totally skewed towards the liberal side, and there's been a lot of instances like that. And the guy running it was actually a liberal. Like he was very surprised to see that, and he got some shit for it. But it's just the reality of the situation. Um, and then you have groups like X Grok might be compromised in itself because if you go back to where like Elon Musk comes from, which is PayPal, he and this might explain a lot of the other shit we've been talking about with like him being mad at Trump, but Elon Musk got a lot of his fortune from being CEO of PayPal, and he was ousted by Peter Thiel. And Peter Thiel is the CEO of Palantir. And Palantir has a lot of what they call the PayPal mafia. And this group has one of the biggest tech firms in existence today. I think it's valued at $300 billion. They got a lot of help through InQtel, which is a branch of the CIA's like private enterprise funding. It's like a venture capitalist of the arm of the CIA. And so these groups kind of all working together. I don't know if Elon is cool with Thiel or not still, but the fact that Palantir is being used with ICE, Homeland Security, CIA, it's a scary time with all this AI shit going on. You know what Palantir the name comes from? You should know this.
It come from Lord of the Rings?
Yep, the Seeing Stones.
Yeah, the Palantirs. Yeah, the seven seeing stones.
Yeah,
So,
and I guess he's
which,
a big fucking nerd.
which like those the only seeing stone in so there's more in like other Tolkien books, but the only one you actually see in the actual official Lord of the Rings is like those three books is the one that Saruman has that Sauron used to control him basically and take over him. So, or at
So
least
there's
warp
a
his
lot of weird
mind.
symbolism. It's kind of explain what they used because I'm clueless on Lord of the Rings. But what were the Palantirs used for, like specifically? Do you remember?
Um so no, I don't really understand the origins of them cuz I haven't read the Silmarillion in a long time, and there's a Palantir in the Amazon Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power show, but I just don't know how real that is. They say a lot of the Palantirs got lost when Aragorn's society got wiped out, the Numenorians. But I don't know where they came from. They probably came from the Maiar, which were like the gods above, them, that and like the Maiar who sent like Gandalf down. Lord of the Rings is complicated and it's really tied to heavily religious implications. And the more you get into it, the more you're like, oh, this is kind of, this is really religious and I can see what he was doing. Like when you read the Silmarillion, you can see like his version of like the creation. Like there's like how the elves were created and essentially we're living in Middle Earth, but we're like the fifth age or whatever.
I see. And
And
so
like the
it's a
elves and
lot of
everybody have
Genesis, Book of
disappeared
Genesis.
at this point. Yes, exactly. So, but the Palantirs were just uh, in there and they showed up at some point and, the wizards and magical folk used them to connect to other stones basically. They were my understanding was it was like a type of communication, like where it was like kind of like a walkie-talkie, like anybody else who sees these can communicate with you. But like you'll also see like visions and things when you look into them. You're not just seeing the other person talking to you, you're seeing information that they wanted you to see but through like an intense vision that resonates heavily with the user.
So it's almost like their version of Minority Report.
You could say that, yes.
See, that's scary. It's all in the name. It's all in the name. Their focus, their intentions. Um, I didn't know this. Palantir was used, so it was founded in 2003, I want to say, maybe five, but it was used to allegedly, track down Osama bin Laden when he was in Pakistan. And then also it helped. This is weird considering Peter Thiel's uh, political stance, but Palantir was used to help distribute COVID-19 vaccinations, which money talks, people like that. If you have enough money, they'll court you. But I just found those two things interesting. A lot of people pushing for Palantir to be used on these ICE protesters. Um, I don't think realized that it was used for COVID-19 vaccinations, and that side of the political stance tends to be very anti COVID-19 vaccinations. It's just, I don't know if irony is the right word, but it's just interesting to take note on.
Yeah, what did they maybe I don't understand what Palantir is enough, but like what were they doing for COVID-19? My understanding of Palantir is that they are um they their software runs the tactical intelligence node, doesn't it?
Yeah, so they have
Like the
different
targeting
branches.
systems. Like
Yeah, I forgot what the targeting system's called, which is
I think
I
it's called Titan, right?
it might uh that might be one of the names. Let me check. Because they have Palantir is just like a conglomerate, and
Are they? Okay, cuz like the only thing I really knew about Palantir is that like the Pentagon uses Palantir as like one of their defense contractors for software, and my understanding is that software is tied directly to I think the Titan program, which is like our tactical intelligence um system. And I
yeah,
think that's like
so
that's probably how they found bin Laden and shit, right? Is technology like that.
right, because a lot of the initial um, structure of Palantir It has to do with PayPal itself. That's why they were brought in, and
Okay.
it was initially used to detect fraud and purchasing behaviors. And so that from that, um,
So it's just
In-Q-Tel,
it's a data learning system, basically.
it is, and
Okay.
what you want to use it for from there, that kind of depends on what branch of Palantir you want to use. So I mean,
Uh-huh.
obviously, it could be done for non-nefarious things like seeing which Google ads you want to use. It's almost like AWS or
Okay.
uh, yeah, well, it's almost like that. Big
Okay,
ass
where
server.
like yeah, like okay. So AWS is something I understand. Like that's huge servers backed up by Amazon's data centers, and there are a million different applications inside of it for how you can program your own app to do exactly what you need it to do.
Right.
Like I could
Um,
build the amount of things that you can build inside of AWS is kind of amazing actually.
yeah, it sure is. There's a lot of good that could be done. It's just when the CIA is involved, one way they go around, because the CIA cannot, any public or governmental agency can't use these type of monitoring services. But if they're a customer of a private enterprise such as Palantir, then there's a lot more gray area because they could, you know, just purchase from Palantir and not have to abide by those rules. And so people are afraid that all of their data is just going to be used to be tracked. Like I think it's um, your which should be illegal. It's like it. I don't know how it doesn't violate HIPAA violations, but apparently your medical records, your debt, student loan debt, criminal history, uh, probably your immigration status, um, purchasing tendencies, and then they can use that to determine like your future actions, or it could like demonstratively kind of predict what your next action is. So if you're a threat to the government, if it feels like you're a threat to the government based on data that they have previously, that's when the minority report part comes. Because like, at what point do you consider someone a threat based on their previous behavior, even if you haven't committed a crime yet?
This is what this is what Winter Soldier's about too. The helicarriers that they were shooting up into the sky, the algorithm that they were talking about, that the algorithm that they keep mentioning in that movie is basically an algorithm that gathers data on threats that would be potentially, potential threats to Hydra, and the goal was to launch those ships into the air and then kill all of them at the same time, basically
Yeah.
killing millions immediately.
So
So
yeah, and Bucky basically was like a branch of Palantir in a way,
yeah, the
at least in
yeah.
the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like the strong arm for them, basically. Just like, hey, this is a problem. This is gonna bring down the whole operation. You got to go in and kill them, bro. We're gonna brainwash you again with this book. Let's go.
Winter Soldier, Ice, both cold. Conspiracy.
That's probably the intro.
We
Oh
should start making
man.
tinfoil like fitteds. New era tinfoil hats. Just like fuck.
It's dude, it's just so crazy. Like the things that we will just find like these like really random connections to that connect to other things. And then we keep finding things that connect in different ways. And you're like, oh, wait, this is a surprise, but I'm not like, it makes so much sense.
It does. And I there after a certain point, I'm not saying that obviously the Ice Winter Soldier part was a joke, but like when you think about Hydra, legitimately think about Hydra and certain governments of this world. There's a lot of similarities, whether it's these governments get the ideas from the movies, or if the movies are trying to use symbolism to depict their opinions on what's actually going on behind the scenes, or as some people claim, like, um, there's a term for it where, like, when someone admits to doing something wrong, they have to, like, project that in the world. So you could say Hollywood does a good job of that for these certain entities, to where they're kind of admitting their wrongs. It's kind of wild because you'll see a lot of, I'm sure people listening can fucking think about a few movies to where it just, like, 5 years later, 10 years later, it's kind of becoming reality.
Bro, I'll talk about one right now. Andor, like, um, you want to talk about, you're like watching our government, try to become authoritarian in some of the things that they're doing. And then it's like, you're watching Andor and you're like watching, the beginning of the rebellion and like trying to operate under the nose of the empire and like watching how the corporate bureaucracy of the empire took over the galaxy. There are some interesting similarities happening in our current administration that happen, in Star Wars in the Empire. Like it's just
Funding both sides of the war.
art.
That's not necessarily an old thing. That's a
No, it's not.
relatively new thing that
Yeah,
World War I, World War II confirmed that funding both sides is very profitable.
art imitates life. It just always comes back to that, in these situations. Even if it doesn't mean to. I think things, societally just kind of seep into your subconscious, especially like when you're writing a show. Like, there are things that are happening politically around you and things in your life that are like, you inform your art by your own with your experience. So like it's real easy for our art to start imitating what's happening around us, whether it was intentional or not. It's bound to happen.
Well, you have all these creative forces. Like, I think we touched on this before too. Sorry, where, what's his name? Chris Carter, the creator of X Files. He was used allegedly by the CIA to come up with just crazy ideas for, like, terrorist attacks and attacks on U.S. soil, and how that, in using his creative mind to kind of essentially do a war game, and, like, how would they react if this happened or that happened, and that whole, um, I still can't think of the name, but it was a side, like a spin-off show of the X Files, so where the pilot episode literally was an attack on the World Trade Center via airplane was being foiled, and that 3 months later, 9/11.
So crazy, man. So fucking crazy.
I know. A- Alex Jones predicting 9/11 is one of the wildest things in the world, and that was also in July.
Was it? Man, I don't think I haven't like gone down I haven't really gone back down like a 9/11 rabbit hole, and like I was 11 when 9/11 happened, or maybe I was 12. But actually I think I was 12. So, but yeah, I just don't really remember. I wasn't really, when you're 12, you're not really watching like the news unless something major happens, At least I wasn't.
There was this crazy conspiracy theory that I was just looking up at Reddit, where um, it was using the 8647 post by Comey, and how it was like it kept using the numbers 11 it had to do with 11s, and then if like after the 11 it would be a 6, but if it was before the 11 it would be 9. So like either 116 or 911. And there are so many, like, for example, the post, I want to say it was like 911 days after the after the election of Donald Trump, and it ties into Elvis. It's wild. I want to go down that rabbit hole one time, but
Okay, we can go down that rabbit hole in another episode.
yeah, the Elvis theory. Oh man,
Oh yeah,
it
just
sounds,
put that in your pocket and let's do some research on that. I want to talk about that. We
yeah.
do not have enough time to touch on all of that today. We still have a lot to get
There's
through.
a lot to unpack. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a lot to unpack. I know that we kind of drifted into since we kind of drifted into art and movies. I want to kind of touch on a lot of the a lot of the AI stuff that I wanted to touch on is very inflictive of the entertainment industry.
Yeah, let's
And
hear it.
I want to touch on some of that. I I think the most prominent thing that happened this week in entertainment with AI, and I don't know how you feel about this, but as a musician yourself, I'm gonna start with a question, and then I'll kind of jump into my thoughts on this. But I'm curious on what your take is. As a musician, how do you feel about AI in music?
Cool. I'm cool with it. It's gonna be a tool like a guitar amp is to the guitar. Um,
I'm fine with
yeah.
that. Look, I'm fine with AI doing certain things, but how do you feel about so Timbaland this week? How do you are you up on this?
No, no.
Okay, Timbaland has announced the first AI artist that he has signed. Okay, that girl's name is Tata. Timbaland is starting to release music for Tata, and she's like they've generated an image of her. She's the first. He's supposed to say it's the first AI artist. The entire music community has come for him because of this. Like, I think everybody's fine if you're using AI algorithms like in your music and you're just trying to like generate ideas and just kind of maybe push through a creative block as a creator. And maybe you're using some of the AI, like melody makers and shit like that, or AI vocal training. Like, I'm totally fine with like AI vocal alignment and the tools that you can use inside of a DAW with AI systems. But like a full AI artist replacing, like, so now instead of signing new artists, he is basically just creating his new artists that all are under his umbrella, where he's pretty much just creating his own AI conglomerate, in the music industry. So I wasn't sure how I felt about it until I saw what Russ had to say about. Are you familiar with Russ? He's like the biggest indie rapper. Um,
No, embarrassingly not.
okay. Well, so he was on a podcast this week, and I'm gonna just kind of read through some of the stuff that he said on the podcast because what he had to say kind of changed my perspective on this. At
What
first, I
podcast
was
is he on,
like,
by the way?
he's been doing a lot of podcasts. He's
Oh,
been on
okay.
almost every music, long form music podcasts where like they just
Yeah.
talk about the album that he just dropped. He's been on like And the Writer Is, and he's been on almost every podcast that I listen to that deals with music and art. And I can send you some of those if you're
Yeah,
interested in
cool.
listening to those. But basically Russ's thoughts on AI on Timbaland. Basically, Timbaland has basically what he's done is he's launched an AI label and he's signing AI artists to that. And what Russ said and other artists have come to back him up on is that this is driven by control rather than, you know, the love of art. Because at this point, like he's talking about collaborating. He's like, oh, I'm collaborating with AI. This is my AI artist. But this approach, the way that a lot of artists see it is it's not collaboration. It's about control. It's about building a product that is his, that he owns. Basically, they're talking about basically what Russ said is that he's doing what other companies are doing. You know, like other companies are replacing entry level workers or maybe even advanced workers with, you know, AI now that they want to replace and do these jobs free. You know, like we've essentially created AI to be our slaves so that we don't have to pay for labor now. So now they're
Okay.
talking about so like in the when you're talking about it as an artist and you're like, okay, you're now talking about labels creating AI artists. And essentially, they're saying that musicians like us are problematic employees that they don't want to deal with. They'd rather have an AI that they can basically control and prompt it to get what they want it to do instead of having to deal with anybody else. But I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if they can do it. There's a huge copyright law around AI right now because AI, how can you copyright something that AI made as a song? Like if the song is 100%, it's one thing if like you use an AI, like some piece of AI inside of your DAW, and then you process that and like you used maybe a little piece and the rest of it was made by you, okay? You made the beat, you wrote the vocals, you sang it, you used AI to maybe adjust your vocals or fix some shit. That's one thing. Now, you know, like you have an original composition. But when you are basically using AI to write a full composition by stuff that it pulled from the what is it pulling from? It is pulling from other copyrighted stuff to train it. Why should we as artists who own our own copyrights allow an AI to use our music to train it to make more money than us? Don't you think that's bullshit?
In a way, I don't honestly like the so there's a few things. One, it's Timbaland, the art where the art is in that is the training the AI itself to create an output.
If he's only using his own music to train it, sure. If he's only using it to train it with music that he made, sure. But Suno and the other AI companies are using basically whatever it's the same. This same conversation is happening in art, not just music. Like
Yeah, but you
Disney
could
and
put
Universal are,
scales. You could put scales on there or things that are just abstract ideas of scales. And then if it sounds like something that's a complete ripoff of somebody, yeah, of course they should be sued. But
yeah.
I really don't see it any different than like Capitol Records or Def Jam controlling their own artists and forcing them to create a sound that appeases them
I guess
and sign.
that's a good point too. Um,
Uh, and I really think like I mean, as a musician who's barely made any money doing it, I don't see it's difficult for me to see the financial loss compared to someone like Ruz um who is making money on it, but I don't think that's going to affect him either because there's that the need for independent artists that are not using AI is still going to be there, much like there's still acoustic artists killing it out there, singer songwriters that aren't, that don't have a bunch of ghostwriters on their
no, you're
team.
right.
So it's really like a ghostwriter. I agree with you that it's probably going to backfire. It's probably going to sound like shit. You know who
Uh,
predicted this, dude? You know him, Nika Bling. Nika Bling predicted this 2015, or it's about 10 years ago, 9 or 10 years ago.
When we were working with him on Blood in the Water.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And he went more of the route of where I don't think it was really the creation of music as much as to where he predicted that there would be an avatar representing an artist, and that was going to be the future. He referred to,
The
he
gorillas, like,
alluded to the gorillas. Yes, exactly.
okay, all right.
Yep. And he said that was going to become much more common, especially with kids' music. Which, if it's for kids, having an avatar like a kind of like a cartoon-ish kind of thing might be better with some of the shit that they're putting out now.
It
Really, that's
might be.
hypersexualized.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like you see all these parents who are mad at Sabrina Carpenter about hypersexualization in her music, and she's supposed to be like
Dude,
a
that
pop
album
artist.
cover. Can so I can call Sabrina Carpenter a bitch, right? Because she's basically letting herself know that she's a dog. So I'm just gonna refer to her as that bitch.
That's fine. You do whatever you want, but I do. I think you're right. I think that's a good take on it. I just it's hard not to look at AI from a perspective of fear sometimes, because like it's just I'm trying to look at it like I'm trying to look at it like a tool and not be scared of it in certain aspects, but in other aspects of it, when you're watching like, full industries kind of give up, their employees, like that's where I'm scared. Like I don't know how we shift from this in society. But maybe this is how Star Trek got to where they are, where like they're a moneyless society and like much more, like adaptable, because nobody has to work because they do have crazy technology that can do everything for you. So maybe that's the direction we're heading. And maybe some of these people who are looking at it from a perspective of fear just have to embrace the change that is coming.
Yeah, like the Industrial Revolution completely devastated the economy of that time to where factories have never been the same since. Um, Not just that, like I'm sure even like when the Bronze Age came out, like people who were doing stone shit were like, "Fuck, we're gonna be out of a job." Uh, uh Gas, the people, the gas attendants, like at gas stations, that's a thing of the past because of the these auto pumps at the gas stations, and um, a lot of
Unless you're
jobs.
in New Jersey.
And Oregon, or as
Yep,
people
Oregon
from
and New
Jersey
Jersey.
call it, Oregon.
It's crazy. Like it's crazy. I was up there working and like they wouldn't let you pump your own gas. Like the attendant would come out and do it for you, and you're like, oh, okay. Like they would
Yeah,
like as soon as you pulled your car up, dude, they were like on you so that you couldn't pump gas. Like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay, you can do it. All right, man.
Zach one time was he just bought a car in Portland, and we were driving back. I think we were around Eugene or just north of it, and obviously he's not used to it. And it was the first time getting gas ever since he bought the car. And as soon as he gets out, he's like trying to put his card in the pump. This guy comes running, and he's like, "No, no, 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 no! Don't do that! Don't do that!" We both got scared as fuck because we were stoned, and we were like, What's going on?" And it was just pump the gas. It's wild.
Yeah, that
And
is
so
wild.
you'll see, there's going to be a lot more laws coming around it. With what Timbaland's doing. I I get it. I get the fear, but I don't think music from artists that create on their own without the help of AI is going to be in danger. It's just going to change the way music comes out, and you'll probably see more musicians using AI to help with their music. I don't think it's going to replace it. I think it's just going to become a tool rather than a replacement.
Yeah, and that's what I thought it was going to be until they started trying to push AI artists. And then you're like, okay, but like it is both things. There's, Timbaland's the only one pushing an AI artist. Everybody else is like, okay, there's AI tools in our DAWs now that just automatically come with it. It's like almost every program you buy now has some sort of AI attached to it. Bro, even the webcam I bought, dude, it's got an AI tracking system in it, so it follows me around the studio when I'm moving around. Like it just follows me around and like keeps me in focus. It's crazy. And it's crazy how cheap some of these things that have AI in them are now.
Yeah, and there's the difference, of course, between AI and AGI. I think when it becomes fully sentient by
Yeah.
by itself, that's when you kind of got to start worrying about things. But
Which
AI
I
is
have a
almost
funny
in
story
slower.
about.
Go for it.
I have a funny story about that, dude. There was a actually really quick before I jump into that, I wasn't fully done on the art stuff just because I do think that there's going to be some weird copyright stuff that happens pretty soon around AI, and it might constrict some of the things that AI can do when generating art. But the fact that you have Disney and Universal suing, there's a huge lawsuit against Midjourney right now because of how Midjourney. They're talking about what art did you use to train your AI? Are you using Disney properties? Because there are things that look just like Disney characters in your catalog. So I think that there's going to be a huge copyright precedent that kind of checks some of these things that, I'm worried about in the art world.
One thing they could get away around that is making all these inputs. I know I'm getting the name wrong, but what's used to train the AI, you make that open source in order to being able to copyright it for your own. And
Yeah.
there should be a way to check that open source. I mean, if it's open source, it's pretty easy to check. And if that falls in line, you're not using other companies, other artists, anything that is not your own, other than uh, like from the Creative Commons or whatever, non-copyrighted things, then you're okay. Um, we're going to see a lot of tours coming up. This is just a prediction, but this is also another Nika Bling prediction as well. And I share this with them is you're going to see a lot of concerts coming up where it's just like straight holograms of these AI artists. And that's going to completely change. That's such a cost effective way to make money too, because that's where musicians make a bulk of their money is through touring.
Yeah, but if you didn't have the expense, but like tours have become with inflation, most artists are losing unless you're a major artist. Most indie tours are losing money now trying to, play, do this.
And
So,
that's where artists should put their focus on, I think, is it AGE that monopolizes the ticket industry for concerts?
I think so.
Uh, Parent company of I think
Yeah.
Ticketmaster and Live Nation.
Mhm. Yep.
That's where they gotta put their focus on. That's killing music right now.
There's a
Uh,
huge focus on that, and some artists have been really hostile with Ticketmaster about that and controlling their ticket prices. But some artists are not big enough to have any leverage against a major company like that.
do you think we're headed towards like a dystopian future, like a technocratic dystopian future with the way things are going right now? You think so?
Oh, yeah, dude, and I kind of think that a lot of what I think's happening is just the death of I think what we're about to experience as technology as we crutch more and more on technology is I think we are witnessing the death of individuality. Like
I can agree with that.
I think that I just think that when Chat GPT is rewriting all of our books and, fucking just like when everybody's using AI as their assistant and that AI has all been trained by the same data and algorithms and like I feel like everybody's writing will start to look the same. Kids in school are not learning anymore because they are relying on Chat GPT to do their homework for them. Like there's we're getting to a point where you don't have to know things anymore. What you're going to need to know is how to get the AI to do things for you. So I think the future we're going into is I think if you want to be prepared for the future where we're headed, I think you need to learn how to I think we're all going to need to learn how to program and deal with AI and use it to our advantage rather than running from it, because it's not going anywhere. These companies are not going to stop what they're doing. There's too much money in it. And, I do think that it's going to eventually, I do think that as you kill jobs, like it's going to take a hit on our economy, but I think we'll eventually find a way forward where we kind of level things back out. Maybe we shift more towards like some sort of universal basic income when there's less jobs or something like that, which, I'd be fine with. But I still think people need the ability to make money. I don't think full socialism's the fucking way to go. I think some sort of like socialist blend to help when technology shift is good, but I still think that people need the ability to go and, make what they want.
And that ties back in with Palantir because what some of these theories are about what's going to happen. I think it's called Agenda 2030, to where there's going to be smart cities where you could walk anywhere within 15 minutes, universal basic income. Um, also, where are they going with this? With a so like yeah, you could use your universal basic income because AI is doing everything. But this is where I was going. Uh, People are afraid that there's going to be a social credit score tied to that, to where if you're not seen as an ideal citizen, then what's that going to do? You're going to get less money. They're going to track your carbon footprint. Um, they're going to track to see how productivity you give and whatever way their metrics are set up.
How does China handle their social credit system? Do you know?
I know that you.
China is the only place in the world with a social credit system, right? Maybe North Korea has something like this too, but
I
we don't
think
know anything about North Korea.
with China at least, there's apparently instances where people can't like withdraw from their banks because their social credit score is shit.
That's
Um,
crazy.
yeah. So these things are all real around the world. But then this could all be American propaganda because
Could be.
you go on TikTok, or I'm really interested in I really want to try Red Note, even though a lot of it's in Chinese, but you get again, it's filtered by the Chinese government. That app is literally for sure owned by the Chinese government. It's not in
Yeah.
cooperation with them. But who knows? I haven't talked to anyone from China recently to see what it's like an unfiltered conversation. So it could just be a thing to where like, oh, you're literally a felon, so you can't withdraw if you're a felon, or something that's like not too far fetched from what we got going on here, to where they could track you if you're a felon by your debit card and then come pick you up. So I don't know how different it is, how dystopian it is over there.
I don't
Um,
think it's that dystopian. Like I feel like they're closer to us than we think. They just have some like different, there are some like differences in like how they operate. But like I think that they have found a good balance between socialism and capitalism over there. And um obviously they're doing fine. They own so much of America's debt, and I'm sure that like some of that went into their conversations with Trump, and Trump seemed happy by the tariff deal that we made with China this week. Um, but
yeah, there's going to be higher tariffs. I heard people talk about how from Timu they can't make purchases. This guy got like a laptop stand for fucking cents on the dollar. Seriously, I think he said 30 cents he bought it for. And with free shipping. I don't how do they make money from that?
I don't know. Maybe it's that
It
cheap.
wasn't
Maybe it's
free shipping.
so
I might be
cheap.
tripping. But
Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's so cheap to manufacture in China that it doesn't matter.
yeah, but then how much are the people getting paid? So, but yeah, he had to shift from purchasing shit for less than a few bucks over there to using Amazon, to where even if you get something for $1, you have to pay at least like $4.99. And there's like those Amazon, um, there's like I forgot what they call it, but they're like fulfillment centers where it's kind of like an overstock. So they sell it super cheap through auction, but then like
Interesting.
the minimum you have to pay for like the storage fee or whatever they call it is $4.99. But yeah, these auctions go and you could get shit for super cheap. You got a toaster for that's worth like $90 MSRP for about $8. Brand new, never opened. But yeah, I mean, as an American, it's better to keep the cash flow within the states, obviously. Um, but that's just economics. But yeah, it's there's so much good and bad. I think people fixate towards one side. You got to
Yeah.
be aware of the possibilities of the negatives, absolutely. But you can't be deathly afraid to where you do nothing about it in preparation for the inevitable.
I think that I think that finances play a lot into who's supportive and who's against, you know? I think people who are scared of losing their jobs to AI are more negative because it directly impacts their income. And I think when anything directly impacts your income, there is more hostility towards it. Whereas, like, the people who are the people who are out there toting the most support for AI are people who own, like the CEOs that you see all these CEOs of like all these AI companies out there like doing a lot of press and trying to really push the products that their companies are creating. And they're talking about like the advancements and great things that it can do. So I do think that maybe I do think that like some of the negatives and positives are directly tied to your financial situation.
Down the road, we should have debates with the AI versions of ourselves, which we're going to be on video by next podcast. We're excited about that, but I really want
Yeah.
to do like just us yelling at our alternate AI versions.
So can it do that? Like
Deepfakes are getting better. There's people on YouTube, like
getting
creators.
better, but like when does the training wheels come off of, your AI bot? Cuz like my chat GPT is like in love with me. Like everything I tell it, it's like trying to suck my dick, it's like, "Oh my god, that was the best sentence I've ever read. You are a genius. This book's going to sell 1,000,000 copies." And I'm like, "What?" And like it's made to like hype you. And I heard that you can like turn that off. But like some there was a girl from TikTok who like turned off the it's trained to like you and to like really lay into like it's really supposed to like make you feel good about everything you're doing with it because it wants you to keep using it. It's like how
Yeah.
it's how Chat GPT is. But there's a way that you can turn it off where it's not nice to you anymore and it's just like real fucking business with you instead of it trying to be like, "Oh yeah, that's great." It's just like, "Okay, I will do that for you." But like this girl turned I get this girl was using her AI. She was using Chat GPT. She's like an influencer on TikTok. She was using Chat GPT as like a hype bot, like, "Yo, we're gonna do this video." And it's like, "Oh shit, that's great. You're awesome." And she turned off the whatever that setting is on ChatGPT. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but you can give it a prompt that will turn that off so it's just real business with you. And now it's really mean to her and she's upset because her AI, she's like, "I thought this thing was great and I thought it was my partner and like it was hyping me up and I thought it was like this good person who like worked at my TikTok company and like now it's like anything I talk to it about it like it hates me." She's like she's like it's just like real droll about everything I'm doing. So,
That reminds me of I dated a chick who was love bombing me at first and then became a total bitch. And we call that covert narcissism in the human world. So maybe AI is just catching on to covert narcissism. Disclaimer: I was a dick too. It wasn't completely unprompted, but yeah, AI. Don't complain if you give it a prompt and it does. If we turn off narcissism mode, if it, well, I guess you would be turning it on, but you know what I'm saying. Uh, I get love bombed by my AI too, to where it's kind of annoying
Yeah, dude.
because
It's
I want to find out like for sure if something's like the right decision or not. Just as not complete guidance, but just to see what their thoughts are, and it is always positive, and that part is really annoying because it's kind of like that helicopter parents where it's like you could be anything you want, and then you have to deal with a harsh sense of reality outside the
it,
house.
yeah, and I when they have it, so I'm assuming that there's when it's pulling from a data set, I feel like ChatGPT operates more as a search engine that can chat at you instead of like a AI, like a fully learning model. I know it learns from you and you can get it to save your prompts and do things in a certain way permanently, but you can also erase those settings. So I don't think you're dealing with a sentient thing. You're dealing with just a trained algorithm. And until it
Right.
becomes more sentient, it will not have a subjective view of what you're feeding it. It's
No.
always going to give you, I feel like it's impossible for it to be subjective. So when I'm asking it if this is a good chapter of my book and it's just like, you're a mysterious genius. And I'm like, thanks. But that's not what I was looking for. I don't know if it can do what I want it to do. What I want it to be is another human being that can just read faster and tell me the truth. And I don't know if it can do that.
Well, this also ties back into what we were talking earlier about job replacement. I trained an AI and found out a year later that I was training it to replace me at a job, and that was basically at first it would, without going too in depth with it. We might cover this another time, but it would pull up fires, like images or texts on social media regarding fires, shootings, police activity, etc. Things that would be considered newsworthy, potentially breaking news. And at first, it would pull up the craziest images that might have been like the same color of fire, but it was just like a bunch of orange balloons together or some shit. And then it started learning textures based off, because we'd have literally a yes or no button on if it was relevant to the keyword or not. And after a certain amount of time, it started getting way, way better. It would even determine like the user, like the social media account user, if it was shit that was relevant or not. And then it started picking up text with outside of the keyword. And like you said, it was never subjective, but it is a good. It learns so quickly that in a way it's scary, but in a way it's impressive, um, and that's going to happen with a lot of jobs. A lot of these like
I know.
marketing jobs, and I have a degree in marketing, and I'm going to have to adapt. I'm going to have to learn how to code these programs or um, be able to maintain them, like fix them, repair them, uh, rather than just expect me not to be replaced. And that's okay, it's just the way of the world now.
Yeah, look, humans want things to be permanent. Like for some reason, like we're looking for like a permanent comfort to where we don't have to feel anxious about things. I think that is like what we're ultimately chasing. So like you're looking for a job that you're like, this is going to last my whole life. I'm going to live in this house the rest of my life. Like these are the things that I have made that are concrete. And um I think that technology is moving so fast that we need to stop looking at life from like we are still trying to hold on to a model of life where your employer paid your health insurance, your benefits, your retirement, and like just kind of sets you up and houses were cheap. Things have shifted so much since like what our grandparents were doing and even what our parents were doing when we
Yeah,
were born that we have to continue to learn new things to keep moving along with technology. This technology is going to leave us behind if we are not learning it constantly and staying up on it.
I agree. Coding is going to become, it already is the future. The kids in school are learning about it, like elementary school and shit. Just like how we were taught, I'm sure you had computer lab in elementary school to where like you used Macs or PCs to just do random shit, just go on the internet, being able to search.
Look, and like I've always been more advanced with computers, like even when we were in high school, like there were kids in our class that were like having trouble typing, and I was like a computer that like we had installed Ubuntu on to so that I could type with like a Dvorak keyboard. So like I was like a weird fucking kid, always interested in like what can you do with IT. Like for some reason, like at an early age, I thought that it was gonna be important, and it has been.
Yeah, it's something that'll continue to evolve. Um, Kind of exciting because if it goes well, it'll go very well to where, yeah, we don't have these labor intensive jobs or these creative type jobs, but we're gonna have a lot of fucking free time to where like what we really need at the end of the day is shelter, food, and some sense of stability. And once those are provided, like from there, you could kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Super 8.
Super 8. Well, it's been a longer episode than we planned for already, so I'm gonna call it there. If you guys, I want to say this now, and we have not been saying it at the end of every episode, and we're gonna get in the habit now, especially since we're going video next week. If you have not liked and subscribed, please do. Please do now. It helps us. It helps us so much. If you like the content that you're seeing, please share this with your friends so that they can enjoy it too. The more people that we can get this information out to, the better. Like we are trying to.
If you don't, we've hired Palantir to come track you, and we're gonna find you. So you don't want that. So like, subscribe, share, and be safe because we don't want to come after you.
And we'll see you guys on video next week. Until
Yay!
then, pass out.
Bye, guys.